And also we've been joined by Dr. Justin Dargin, Senior Fellow, Middle East Council. Thank you so much for joining all of you.
Thank you, Maheen.
Mike, I would like to ask you a pertinent question regarding the US and Iran. Of course, we have heard Marco Rubio saying that there has been some movement in negotiations when it comes to Iran. What is your take on the some movement that he's referring to?
Well, I mean, what he's referring to is that there have been some preliminary, it appears, agreements in the sense of holding the ceasefire. So, for instance, the U.S. has indicated that it would halt attacks on Iran, at least while the ceasefire is ongoing. And then also, Iran indicated that it would also hold back its drone and missile attacks. But you see, the main sticking point, of course, is the nuclear file. And this has always been the issue with Iran and is also at the heart of the conflict. So Iran refuses to surrender its uranium stockpile. And of course, it refuses to cease its nuclear activity for the period of time that the Trump administration wants. So if those two sticking points fundamentally are not dealt with, then that's how we see that an agreement is going to be extremely difficult. Then also tacked onto that, you have the fact that Iran wants to formalize its control over the Strait of Hormuz, and it's been doing that actually. It has set up a Persian Gulf Strait Authority. I mean, it even has a Twitter page right now, as a matter of fact. I mean, so we can see that this is also going to be a tacked on issue in the sense that what is going to happen with the Strait of Hormuz, who is going to have control, and obviously the Gulf countries do not want Iran to have any type of authority over any transit that's going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, so it's extremely difficult, and it seems that the two sides are not close to a long-term agreement.
Dr. Justin, don't you think we have been already there, and right now as the time is passing, the conflict is prolonging and it is causing huge consequences when it comes to global impact, especially talking about the economy, and many countries are indulging, especially a statement coming from the UAE where the official has said that Iran should refrain from indulging in an on and off game when it comes to negotiation with the US.
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, this is actually the only tool that Iran has. And it understands that it would be quite, and that's why it's quite loath actually to give it up. And what is the tool? The tool is basically you blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. And then what this does is this imposes a cost on the US, on its allies, on the world. And the idea, the cost through inflationary pressure, of course. And then what the idea is that this would cause the global community to put pressure on the U.S. and Israel to cease its attacks. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Iran is not really stepping back from its control over the Strait of Hormuz. But you also have to understand, though, there are seemingly some winners that will emerge from this crisis. On one hand, the U.S. oil and gas industry has been doing extremely well. There's a virtual armada, we could say, of tankers heading from Asia to the U.S. in order to purchase as much oil and LNG as possible. And then also, if you look at China, you can see that China is going to be able to portray itself as providing renewable energy technology, which, of course, this crisis is going to spur much more investment in decarbonization in order for countries not to have to deal with this again. I mean, so there are it's multifaceted right now, and the pain is not being primarily felt by the U.S. This is an Asian crisis overall, and then also it's impacting Europe as well in terms of its manufacturing slowdown, and then also other economic risks.
Dr. Justin, since we were talking about the U.S. alliances, we know that Germany is preparing for a mission to secure the Strait of Hormuz under the U.K. Marco Rubio says that Trump's disappointment must be addressed when it comes to his war on Iran, of course, the way the alliances have behaved. How do you think that the alliances of UK are standing, rather US are standing right now when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, it's very difficult to, what can I say, for the Trump administration to maintain these alliances. And we have to remember, though, that the alliance, the Western alliance, NATO, has been frayed prior to the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, so this is almost a culmination of all of these efforts that have been done by the Trump administration in order to secure much more military engagement, and then also prior to the Strait of Hormuz investment in the defense sectors in Europe and the Western alliance. So it's been frayed for I would say quite a bit of time. And what we're seeing now is that the U.S. through the Trump administration has indicated that it is not going to defend Europe as it has before if Europe does not help secure the Strait of Hormuz. So it's very interesting that we're seeing now many European countries are saying that they are actually going, even though it would be a European-led effort, but actually they would start to attempt to be within the Strait of Hormuz to secure shipping through the area. But one thing, though, we have to consider is that they are portraying this as a defensive step. So they will not be sending military vessels there to secure the Strait of Hormuz under active hostilities. So this would only be if there were some type of ceasefire or peace agreement.
Dr. Justin, how do you look at the global economic consequences? The conflict is, prolonged. We all know that, and there is a lot of struggle that the countries are doing in terms of the economy. There are buffer zones in the developed countries, but what about developing countries? I mean, how do you look at the overall global impact?
Global impact is immense. Now, one thing that has been obscured is the difference between the headline price of oil, and this is the price everyone sees, of course, on the news. So Brent, for instance, is fluctuating between 90 to 100, $110. But the effective, the real, the actual price of a barrel of oil going to Asia is about $140 or so. So this means what refineries are paying for a barrel of oil in order to be able to refine it and in order to be able to provide to their citizens. Now, this price is already, as I indicated, has been hovering around $140 over the past month or even longer. So the impact is quite vast within the developing world, the global south. We've seen unrest, riots happen in Indonesia. Over the increase in fuel prices. We've seen protests in Bangladesh. We've seen quite severe riots in Kenya as well. So the longer this blockade endures, we're even going to see this ripple throughout nearly every single good you can imagine. And food is going to be a major issue as well within the global south. There are estimates that perhaps 250 million people are going to enter into acute food insecurity by this summer, principally, of course, within the global south, which will put strain on countries, developing countries, to be able to provide for their citizens. And you really have to understand this as well. Due to the war in Ukraine, due to the percolating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the countries have entered into this Strait of Hormuz crisis from a weakened position. They simply don't have the fiscal space in order to be able to provide relief for many of their citizens. So, I mean, it's quite dire. And again, every week, every month that this crisis endures, the impact in the global south is going to be much greater than what we will see in the developed world.
Right. Dr. Justin, oil markets are going to be entering red zone by July and August as stocks dwindle amid the shortage of oil exports. In your opinion, what is the solution, the long-term and unconditional solution to this problem?
Well, you have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. That is fundamentally the only solution, at least for the short term. So through the bypass capacity, through pipelines that the UAE and Saudi Arabia have, some oil is still able to get to the market. So we can say roughly about 10 million barrels or so. So that means 10 million barrels are off of the market. When you look at the other major oil producers outside of the Gulf region, such as the US, Canada, Brazil, you can also say Russia, countries in Africa, Guyana, even in South America, they don't have what is known as spare capacity. So spare capacity, and this is essential, and this is why the Gulf is so important, in particular Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Spare capacity means that you are able to rapidly increase your oil production within a period of a few weeks or so in order to try to moderate global oil demand in the sense if there's any shortage. That spare capacity is offline now. And as you indicated, the global stocks are decreasing. We're going to enter into a period of increased volatility when governments don't even have the avenue or the method of attempting to control the shortage by releasing their oil stocks. Overall, there really isn't anything that can be done within the short term. Simply demand destruction, which means that the prices will have to rise for demand and consumption to reduce. Within the mid to long term, it would have to be investment in renewable energy and electrification. And this is what's going to happen with many countries in order to ensure that they won't be as exposed as before. And indeed, the modern renewable energy, you could say, movement, if we want to put in that way, this occurred from the first oil embargo in 1973. We're going to see this actually renewed and redoubled from this crisis. So that's the mid to long term solution. But short term, there's very little that can be done.
Right. Dr. Justin, since you talked about the Strait of Hormuz, it needs to be open unconditionally. There's only one solution. We're also seeing a standoff there with a lot of U.S. military deployment. And if we look at the spending of defense from the U.S. side, it is a lot. And it is costing them other sectors like health and, other domains in the U.S. And there's a lot of pressure on the U.S. side as well. How do you look at the burden on the national exchequer of U.S. when it comes to military spending?
Yep, the burden is immense. Even though the U.S. is a major oil producer, the world's largest oil producer, it's a net exporter of oil. It has a large amount of LNG, natural gas, that it exports. But at the same time, because oil is a global market, it's not insulated. So we have seen prices right now in the U.S. hovering about $4.50 per gallon. Now this is approaching the level, one of the highest levels actually since the war happened in Ukraine. So the American consumer is now feeling the pinch. The American consumer is not really thinking that the geopolitical situation in the Middle East is even worth spending blood and treasure of the U.S. in order to secure that. And we also have to look at it this way: the rationale of involvement in the Middle East prior to the oil production surge in the U.S. about 2010, 2011, and 12, the U.S. Depended, of course, on oil imports to a great degree. So, of course, there was a rationale that we have to be in the Middle East in order to secure oil for the U.S. and the global economy. But that rationale really doesn't make as much sense now for the average American voter. So they are not liking this, and many of Trump's supporters or Republican Party members who were, let's say, on the fence and who voted for Trump because he indicated that he would not involve the U.S. in any forever wars in the Middle East, they're pretty upset now. And it seems that during for the midterm elections, that the Republican Party may be voted out of both houses of Congress. So it really depends if this is going to last. If the war wraps up in about, let's say, a couple of weeks or so, and then global oil prices are able to, let's say, reach the level that they had prior to the crisis, then I think that there won't really be as much outrage, we could say, over the increase in, let's say, fuel prices. But if it continues, then the Republican Party will pay a pretty high price for this.
Dr. Justin, countries are now shifting from globalization to, economic nationalism. How do you think the countries like Pakistan, you briefly touched upon the countries of global south, that they are suffering. What should be steps taken in order to, save themselves from the energy shock that we are looking at, the developing countries like Pakistan?
Yes, absolutely. Well, Pakistan actually has made great strides, I would say, even though, of course, it is injured by this crisis. But actually, since the war in Ukraine, Pakistan has doubled down and invested in solar energy. And this, to a large degree, has actually moderated what could have been an even larger economic impact on Pakistan. So, for instance, if countries in the global south were to take the example of Pakistan, invest in solar energy invest in energy efficiency, then they would be able to at least moderate any type of negative impact that would occur if there were any type of future shortage or any type of geopolitical crisis in the Middle East. So, what this would require, though, is for countries to have countries in the global south to have a very comprehensive focus of investment in renewable energy and electrification of their national economies. And then this would go a long way to helping to, let's say, modulate any type of impact that a future crisis could have on their economies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Justin Dargin, Senior Fellow, Middle East Council, joining us all the way from Washington. And we really appreciate your comprehensive analysis on the current topic.
Thank you for having me.